So Mark Cuban does have some interesting things to say. I mentioned that he earlier thinks that the IOC and FIBA have essentially been hustling the NBA. Here's directly what Cuban has to say. The International Olympic Committee is playing the NBA. The IOC is an organization that's been rife with corruption to the point where a member was accused of trying to fix an Olympic event in Salt Lake. The IOC pulls in billions of dollars. They make a killing and they make Tony Soprano look like a saint. I like the timely Tony Soprano reference. The pros in multiple sports are smart enough to not play when they are eligible free agents, but teams take on huge financial risks so that the IOC committee members can line their pockets. The greatest trick the devil ever played. The greatest trick ever played was the IOC convincing the world that the Olympics were about patriotism and national pride instead of money. Players and owners should get together and create our own World Cup of basketball. That's from Deadspin. Yes, and if you do create your own World Cup of basketball, it will also be about money. But at least you'll get your money yourself. And of course, Paul George could easily have been injured in that competition as well. But if you believe what Adam Silver said, and the most salient point in the quotes I read from Silver, as I said, about making, I think was basketball being the #1 sport in the world, we've got to continue this, then Cuban and Silver may well come together on that point, because it may turn out that that's the best way to do it. But you got to get the rest of the world to go along, and the NBA can't put on the World Cup of basketball if no other countries participate in it, and if they still stay loyal to FIBA and or the IOC. Silver's response really was, Silver's statement comes in response to this general feeling, and it's easy to find everywhere. I talked about an ESPN article earlier. This notion that right now, and Jerry Colangelo, the Phoenix Suns, who has really rebuilt USA basketball and made this a signature coveted spot, made the players care about it, transformed it from its first glory days of 1992 when the Dream Team showed up and embarrassed everybody. I mean, embarrassed them on the court. They didn't embarrass themselves professionally. But they overwhelmed the competition. To then, 8 years later, when we're getting ourselves beaten, 12 years later, when we're getting ourselves beaten in international competitions. So now it's returned to an elite level where obviously there are countries that can beat the United States, but we have great teams and great players out there playing. And this notion was because of this injury. You know, right now they've suspended, the rosters were not cut down, and the notion in these articles suggested that could the players possibly want to come back and play for this. And I think we are massively being influenced by the gruesomeness of the injury. I do not think we would be in the middle of this competition if he had landed awkwardly trying to block a shot and had torn his ACL. He'd still be out for the year. It would still mean exactly what it means to the Pacers, but there wouldn't be that graphic image, this graphic image. Oh, Jesus! It wouldn't have made, in that sense, we wouldn't be having this conversation. They'll come back, they'll have the team. Paul George would want them to have the team. It's fine. You know what these guys do in the off season? They play basketball. You know why? They're professional basketball players.